You said in your answer to Nicky Morgan that you want to bring forward the withdrawal agreement and get it passed as soon as possible, but certainly well before the 31st of October deadline. But to do that, you need to do something different from what you've done the last 3 times you've brought forward that withdrawal agreement. The Chief Whip apparently told Cabinet yesterday that it's time to get real on Brexit and the solution is either a customs union or a second referendum. Would you agree with him on that, Prime Minister?
Well, first of all, I don't comment on Cabinet discussions or supposed reports of Cabinet discussions. But I refer to the answers I've been giving earlier. It is the case that we sit down. I think it's important not simply to see this in case of a discussion about can you go for this model or can you go for that model. It's actually about sitting down and saying what is it that we're trying to achieve, what are the objectives we're trying to achieve, what are the various means in which we can do that, and is there an agreement around the objectives and the means to achieve those objectives.
They're trying to explore today is what are the parameters for some sort of compromise and what will different sides be willing to give. The Foreign Secretary warned yesterday against agreeing a deal that includes a customs union. That was on the record. Do you agree with him, Prime Minister?
I have been very clear. Look, I come back to what I was saying earlier. Because the trouble is that these phrases of a customs union are sometimes...
Phrase, with respect, Prime Minister, not mine.
What is your definition then of a customs union?
This is what the Foreign Secretary said. Presumably you know the definition of it is, Prime Minister.
The point is that we are sitting down with the official opposition. We are discussing with the official opposition the elements of these issues, where we agree on the elements of these issues and where we do not agree on the elements of those issues. And that's why I have always, it's not the first time I think I've actually said this before this liaison committee or said this in the House of Commons, that I think it is important in the detail that we do look at the detail, because it's by looking at the detail that we will be able to identify whether there is a landing zone on which we can both agree. Now, I want a situation where we have a good, close, and deep and close partnership with the European Union, and we ensure that we can have an independent trade policy.
Well, on a specific issue of policy detail, the UK benefits from the brightest and best students from across the EU coming to our great universities, and young people from the UK benefit from being able to go to universities across the EU. Do you think higher fees for students from the EU countries wishing to study here will mean more or less students coming to study here, and would that be good or bad for our economy, Prime Minister?
First of all, obviously, we welcome overseas students to the UK. There's no limit on the number of overseas students who can come to the United Kingdom. We want to ensure that UK and European countries can continue to give students the chance to benefit from each other's world-leading universities after we leave. We've been clear that EU students starting courses in England in the next academic year will continue to be eligible for the same tuition fees as UK students, and no further decisions have been made, and we'll make those decisions and provide sufficient notice in due course.
So, to go back to my questions, do you think that higher fees for EU students wishing to study in this country, will higher fees mean more or less students coming to this country, and would that be good or bad for the economy, Prime Minister?
First of all, I would say that there are overseas students that obviously pay higher fees than EU students do at the moment, and we have seen increases in many of those from a number of those countries of students coming to the UK. So the fee level has not been something that has put those students off. What I hope attracts the students to come to the United Kingdom is actually the quality of the education they receive in our universities. And I would hope that that would continue, whatever the arrangements for the fees that we put in place in future.
You've spoken previously about the burning injustices in society. If UK students are priced out of studying abroad at universities in other EU countries, and only rich students can afford to do that, do you think that would help to tackle, or that would exacerbate some of those injustices you've spoken about so passionately, Prime Minister?
Well, I think that I have spoken about a number of burning injustices. I want every young person to have the opportunity to go as far as their talents and their hard work will take them, whatever their background. I would also argue, actually, that while there are students from the UK who choose to go and study at universities elsewhere, we're very fortunate in the United Kingdom in having a number of, for example, a number of our universities who are actually in the top 20 universities in the world. I think it may be the top 20, I'm pretty certain it's for the top 10, we're the only EU country that does have universities in that category. So I think we have excellent universities here in the UK.
Quite relaxed about there being higher fees for EU students coming to study here and British students going to study overseas. Is that right, Prime Minister?
What I've said is that I think what is important is the quality of education, the determination of whether or not European universities give higher fees to UK students is, of course, not a matter that is a determination for the United Kingdom. We will, in due course, make clear what our position is in relation to EU students coming here to the UK for years beyond those starting in the next academic year.
Of course, the quality matters, but also access to the quality. And I don't want to see a situation where only children from better off families, either from the EU or from this country, are able to access the university of their choice, Prime Minister.
The ability to access universities and the ability to exchange with other European countries is something that we've been very clear we want to see continuing through the Erasmus programme. That's one of the elements of the political declaration that we have negotiated. We want those opportunities to be available.
Very finally, on a slightly different theme, there have been 120 governors of the Bank of England, and all of them have been men. Later this year, the government will appoint the 121st governor of the Bank of England. People are increasingly suggesting that that person should be a woman. Would you, Prime Minister, encourage women to apply for this job, and would you look favourably on a woman applicant to be our next governor of the Bank of England?
Well, as you might have noticed, I do like it when women are in senior positions. I think that women should be encouraged to apply for senior positions. Of course, the decision will be, it'll be important to take the decision as to who is the right person to be the governor of the Bank of England. But I would encourage applications from female applicants.